Welcome to There She Is, the podcast by Women's Sport and Recreation Tasmania. This is a space for celebrating women in sport, the athletes, coaches, administrators, volunteers, and leaders who shape our sporting communities. We talk pathways, visibility, lived experience, and what works for women in sport right here in Tasmania and beyond, because representation matters and every story deserves to be seen. Hi everybody, it's Philippa here from Women's Sport and Rec Tasmania. And I'm very excited to introduce you to Chelsea Wing today, who is a legendary coach who's been affiliated with Women's Sport and Rec for a couple of years now. She is the lead academy coach based up in Launceston and is also a previous scholarship recipient for our women's coaching scholarship that we give out each year. So thanks so much for joining us today, Chelsea. Awesome. We wanted to come in and do a bit of a highlight of what you've been doing since you've received the scholarship and just have a bit of a overview of what your path and your career has been like, because we were already just chatting earlier about how sometimes we don't know what's available because we're not seeing a lot of other women do it. And there's not very many females coaching at high levels in football and soccer in particular, is there?
No, so it's definitely growing a lot. And on the international stage as well, there's a lot more professional women's coaches, which is really awesome to see now. But maybe here in Tassie, there's been a bit more of a push over the last couple of years, especially since the Women's World Cup. But previously, no, there hasn't been a whole lot of women's coaches.
Yeah. So what's your journey from you were a player first and then how did you start getting into coaching?
Yes, so I played for many years. And as I sort of stepped out of the junior program when I was about 16, turning 17, started helping out coaching some of the teams that I'd just previously been in because there weren't any coaches for those teams. So I looked at with one of my friends who I played with, we jumped on and coached one of the under 16 girls team for a year together in, I believe, 2021. And from there, just kept taking on roles and opportunities and sort of built to where I am now.
Yeah, that's amazing. So you never had like a big vision or a goal from the get-go that you wanted to be a professional coach?
No, it was kind of just like somebody needs to do it. And we thought, hey, that's something fun that, we could do together. And we know these girls and we think that, we could do a good job of it and we would be well suited to it. And then, yeah, really, really enjoyed it. And the next year took on a team by myself and sort of just kept taking on these little opportunities that helped me build to coaching at a higher level as well. So started off just in girls teams in like the under 16 space, was a little bit more social, and then kept building into more like what we were calling at the time the SAP phase, so like 9s to 12s, working with boys and girls there, and then was brought in as casual coach for Football Tasmania originally to coach in their talent support program for under 13s, 14s, and sort of just kept going with those age groups from, I believe I started in 2022 coaching casual for them.
Yeah. So like still pretty fresh on the scene really. And you've just kind of continually said yes to all these little opportunities that pop up. And
Yeah, so like previously said, I never really had the intention of getting a full-time job out of it. It was just something that I enjoyed doing and I thought I was doing an okay job at. Um, and yeah, people would say, hey, there's this opportunity there. Do you want to come in and take this session, or can you help out with this team? And that's what originally happened when I was asked. My younger sister was actually in the talent support program. So I was just there watching her train, or maybe I gave her a lift, and then they're like, oh, well, why don't you come out and help tonight? And then, that ended up being like, oh, do you want to actually be a coach in this? And then, so I was working casually. I built up my hours with them. During the Women's World Cup, I was doing some extra work and some community stuff with young female players, which was really exciting. And out of that, I was offered a full-time position with Football Tasmania at the end of 2023.
wow. And so it's a really great just example of you wanting to be, progress in any sport or any sort of careers, just to put yourself in that environment. Then that's often what will start to snowball things. And you mentioned you kind of didn't have the visibility before of knowing that this was a possible path for you. And we're trying to highlight that now as showing what is possible for young women coming through coaching. And there's a beautiful example here with Chelsea of what she's achieved. Can you sort of see what might be ahead in your future now?
Yes, so in the immediate future, I'm still working with the Football Tasmania Academy and state teams. Had a really awesome opportunity to be a head coach of a girls team last year and an assistant coach of a boys teams. that will continue again this year. I'll be head coach of the under 15 girls and assist with the under 15 boys. Looking forward to that. Was lucky enough at the end of last year to be invited in as an assistant development coach into the Junior Matildas camps. I had some visibility with national teams, so that's super exciting, and potentially a long term goal of mine is to get more experience in that space as well.
Yeah. So take us back to when you got your scholarship in the 23-24 catchment. What was going on for you then, and how has having that scholarship sort of supported you, and how have you grown and evolved from then?
Yes, I was sort of just transitioning into um, my job at Football Tasmania, a little bit more out of club football coaching, where I'd just been technical director at my club. So that was in a bit of transition period there, which was really helpful because the support that I was able to get from the scholarship and the other scholarship holders as well through that process was really beneficial. And some of the focuses that we had in our scholarship were things like we had workshops on sleep, nutrition, all sorts of things that I can take immediately into Football Tasmania's programs and help educate our kids as well. So timing was brilliant as well. So that was awesome. And at the start of 2023, I believe, attended a mainland trip with some of the elite hockey players that were in the Tasmanian Institute of Sport. So they headed over and were training with the VIS, and I was just able to hang out with them for a week. So the cross code learning opportunities were something that I hadn't maybe even really thought of, like how much information that you can get from other sports, and hockey and football being, having some quite a few similarities. That was such an educational experience to see the way that they train, what their focuses are, the way that their coaches prepare and are in a session, the support that they get through analysis. And just to be in a high performance program of
Yeah.
that level, I probably hadn't been. That was probably my first real exposure to professional athletes and how they work, and coaches. That'd been the highest level I'd been exposed to. So at the time, and still even now, like I reference the things that I learned on that trip so often. And that was such an eye opening opportunity for me that really got me excited about what we could do in football.
It's incredible. It is interesting to see how we can all sort of collaborate and learn from each other and take everything, skills that other people are doing well and apply them to our own sport for sure. And so tell us about you were doing your coaching levels as well, and how does that work, and where are you up to on those?
Yeah.
Remind me what they're called
So
again.
there's a few steps that go through the licensing process for football coaches. So at the moment, the current process is sort of our mini ruse. So you come in at this level here. That's the really little kids stuff. That's the fun stuff, and sort of build up to what's called the foundation of football. And then from in there, we're going into like C diploma, B diploma, A diploma, and then pro diploma. So that's sort of the process. And at the moment, or during the scholarship, I completed my B diploma. I'm going to go mid 2023, can't quite remember the month. And then at the end of 2024, I was accepted onto an A diploma course, which was such a great opportunity. There's only 75 people that were on the course during that time across Australia. So I was very grateful to be accepted onto that course, and I completed that November of 2025. So I'm now an A diploma coach, which is really exciting to be ticking off that next step
Yeah,
post my scholarship.
yeah. Congratulations. That's epic.
Thank you.
Does it normally take about 12 months to move through the levels?
Yes. So to be eligible there's different eligibility that you have to have for each course. And to be accepted on an A, you have to have your B diploma for 12 months.
Mhm.
So um, I was, not everybody is accepted on the first time they apply. So I was grateful that that opportunity was there for me, because it can take some people a few years to even get onto a course because there's only so many positions available. And then from your A diploma, yeah, it's a 12-month process. So have to travel to the mainland for that. There's no courses in Tasmania. So for me, that was traveling to Sydney for 4 times last year, and they were
Yeah.
3-day blocks. So, it's a big commitment, to be able to have to travel, accommodation, everything, then stay. You're doing 3 days of, 8 hours, and then, coming back, getting straight back into everything. So plus we've got a different like assignments throughout the year as well. They get us to do a mentoring program as well, which was super beneficial. So there's touch points outside of the in-person courses.
Yeah, awesome. Hey, just a quick pause in this conversation. If you believe women in sport deserve to be seen and supported, you can join us at WSRT. Membership is open to individuals, clubs, and sporting bodies from just $20 and it's free for under 18s. To find out more, head to wsrt.org.au/membership. And what is it about coaching or football in particular that sort of keeps you coming back and keeps your energy high?
I think originally for me, it was being able to maybe give some of those younger players something that I maybe didn't get when I was their age, like that support that maybe I was missing sometimes when I was younger. And then sort of from that, like, I think that's still so important, especially working with young athletes and in the youth space is, you're more than just a coach to a lot of these kids, especially when you're spending so many days a week with them, so much time with them. And I think for me, it's the seeing like the positive things come out of it. It's not just always about football. You can see how it can positively impact people's lives as well. Like these young kids, I think seeing their enjoyment, I always feed off their energy as well. I think it's kind of good that we kind of bounce off each other. And I just, the players, like that's always been it for me, seeing them improve and get better and better and do things that maybe they didn't think that they could. That enjoyment that they get from it, I feed off of that too.
Yeah. And what is it that or how are you coaching differently that, you felt like you were missing when you were younger? What have been some really cool key skills that you've been implementing?
I think the detail that I was probably missing as a young player that I think overall the coaching quality has improved in Tasmania a lot since I was a youth player. So, and just that investment as well. I was unaware a lot of these extra programs outside of club, state teams. I don't come from a football family. So there's a lot of maybe opportunities that I potentially missed out on as a kid just because I simply didn't know. So that education for players as well and their families, I think is really important and something that I want to make sure that, every kid gets a chance.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. And is there anything you would like say or encourage to younger female coaches coming through who maybe have aspirations to follow in your footsteps?
Yeah, just say yes to some things, like little, big, whatever it is. If you think that that's going to have some sort of positive impact or gain you new experience, say yes, do it. I think that's really how I've ended up where I am. Is I just took on opportunities that were given, and I thought, hey, that looks all right. Oh yeah, I'll jump on and do that. Oh, this person's asked for some help with this. Yeah, sure. So, um, I think just take the little opportunities because they'll build to something bigger.
And have you always said yes to things that sound fun? Like it sounds like you really followed the joy the whole way through.
Yeah, I do like it can be hard work at times, but I do love it and I just get excited, I guess. I'm like, oh yeah, that could be cool. And I like doing things new and I love a challenge. I like being uncomfortable, I guess. I like being under the pump. I like working in high paced environments. I'm competitive. So I guess that's also like another challenge. I'm like, yeah, cool, let's do it and let's see how well I can do it as well.
Yeah, cool. Did you ever, it sounds like you've just naturally progressed. Did you ever have moments where you felt unconfident or were you able to switch that into, the competitive sort of challenge side of
Yeah,
things?
definitely had moments of I guess, how did I end up here or what am I doing here? Kind of like what's going on and thinking, should I be here? Especially when you get in some rooms with some of like there are some amazing people out there that are amazing coaches thinking like, should I be here? Like this seems a bit far fetched. And I think being really quick to try and turn that around in my brain that, of those some really amazing opportunities have presented themselves for me, maybe my hard work has also created that me putting in effort and trying to learn and trying to be better has allowed for that to even be an option for me. Trying to change that mindset and thinking, maybe that it's not very often that you see a young female football coach that, maybe because it's a bit out of the norm, I still should be there just because, maybe the norm is that I shouldn't be doesn't mean that that's correct. So being able to flip that on its head and think, no, I've worked for this and
Yeah.
remembering all the things that I've done that a lot of the time I forget because I'm just here and I'm doing my thing. Forget to look back sometimes and realize what's happened in the process.
And are you able to flip that quite quickly, do you think? Like,
I think I'm better now. I
yeah.
don't think I rated it before. I think the older I've got, the more time I've spent with different people. the more experience I've gained, I've been able to, I flip that pretty quickly now, I think.
Yeah, that's so cool. It is. And you've worked hard and you're able to see when you look back and connect all those dots, you can see, actually, this is where I belong. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
Incredible.
also important. I've got some good supportive family and friends as well that maybe if I haven't flipped it so quickly, they're quick to pick up on it too. And then I'm like, oh yeah, thanks for the high five.
Love it. Now, you've just come off an intensive camp for the last 4 days or so, is it? Yeah.
So
What's next? What's coming up next for you?
yeah, so we've just had camps with our academy players. The boys were in for 4 days last week, and girls we've just finished today's. They've been great preparation for our academy players into some really great development opportunities coming up. So in the process of planning a talent development scheme event. So that's a initiative by Football Australia to get into the member federations and see more players, get some data on them, get them in a competitive identification match. So that will be in February. So planning that one and inviting players in for that. And then the big one for us is always our emerging championships. So emerging Socceroos championships for our 15-16 boys and the emerging Matildas championship for our 15 and 16 girls, which is in April this year due to the World Cup. Normally it's in July, so prep time's been squeezed a little bit. So got a big few months coming up.
Yeah, very exciting times with a big year ahead, that's for sure.
Looking
Great.
forward.
Thank you so much for joining us today. It's so great to see what is possible. And if it's possible for Chelsea, then there's incredible paths that exist for other young women coming through. So use her as inspiration for what else is possible for you too. Thanks so much, Chelsea.
If this episode resonated with you, if you believe in visibility, representation, and strong pathways for women in sport, we invite you to join us. Women's Sport and Recreation Tasmania is a growing community of state sporting bodies, clubs, women, and allies working together to make sport more inclusive, connected, and supportive across our state. By becoming a WSRT member, you're helping amplify women's voices, stories, and leadership, both on the field and behind the scenes. Head to wsrt.org.au/membership to learn more about becoming a member. Because when we can see women in sport, we can be them.